Hello everybody, and thank you very much to BPC and PestX for inviting HSE to speak at this event. My name's Nicola Gregg and I'm the team leader for Biocides operational policy, and I'm here to talk about the regulation of biocides in the UK as from the 1st of January this year. My talk is aimed primarily at, I think, the product authorisation holders, but I hope it will be interesting to everybody listening in. So I'm going to cover the new regulatory position under the GB Biocidal Products Regulation, including the transitional arrangements. I'm also going to cover the Northern Ireland Protocol, including unfettered access. I'm going to explain about the establishment rules, both in GB and in Northern Ireland. And I'm going to finish up with what's new and indeed what's not new. So starting with a quick reminder of where we are. Of course, not only have we left the EU, but the transitional period has now also ended just at the end of the year. And so GB now has a new independent regulatory framework. However, under the Northern Ireland Protocol, Northern Ireland continues to follow the EU. And good news that the active substance approvals and product authorisations already in place before the end of the transitional period continue to remain valid both in GB and in Northern Ireland. However, that is subject to the established requirements, which is one of my main topics for today. So starting with GB and the new GB Biocidal Products Regulation. The EU BPR has been what we call lifted and shifted into GB BPR. And this means that the new GB regime very much reflects the EU framework, but they do operate entirely independently. Again, via the lift and shift, many of the functions remain exactly the same, and this is because we weren't allowed to make any policy changes during that lift and shift. So, for example, if we felt that, that 365 days was too long or too short for an evaluation period, we weren't allowed to change that number. In other words, most of the rules remain exactly as what people have been used to in the EU. However, some functions have had to be removed because they simply no longer operate in a GB-only context. So there's no such thing as mutual recognition, there's no such thing as union authorisation, there's no mention of the Commission or of ECHA. Now, because we are no longer in the EU, HSE no longer has access to the ECHA IT tools. For example, we no longer have access to R4BP. Similarly, we no longer have access to the data stored within the ECHA systems. And this means that we need to have all the applications and all the data to be resubmitted to us in HSE. Final point on this slide, very important to note that companies have to be established in the UK, both for Article 95 listing in GB and for product authorisation in GB. So moving on to active substances and the active substances review programme in the GB. The EU list, or the EU review programme rather, is effectively being transferred to become the GB programme. But this is where dossiers are resubmitted to us, and I'll come back to this resubmission in just a moment. Now, until those dossiers are resubmitted, we don't know the extent of the work that we have before us, and therefore, until they're all resubmitted, we won't start to consider priorities and timings and even approach. So that's all still to be confirmed at the moment. Very important to note that products containing active substances that are in the GB review programme, they can remain on the market under the Article 89 transitional arrangements until such time as that active substance has been evaluated and the review has been completed. So still with GB, moving on to the transitional arrangements. These transitional arrangements, these are set up for applications that were submitted under the EU system, but weren't completed before the end of the exiting or Brexiting transitional period. So these need to be resubmitted to us. As I've just said, we no longer have access to all the information in R4BP. So if companies wish to continue with those applications for the GB market, then they will need to resubmit the applications and all the supporting information to us. And the GB BPR transitional arrangements provide deadlines for these resubmissions. So there's two different deadlines. The first, which is only a handful of days away now, 31st of March, this is for applications where the UK had been the lead at some point in the past. Of course, all these applications would have been handed over to other member states, possibly, but where we had been the lead, then the deadline is the 31st of March. Where we'd never been the lead, then it's a little bit longer. The deadline is the 29th of June. Some companies have been asking if we can delay. We cannot delay because these deadlines are set in law and are in GB BPR. So you must submit by these deadlines, but we appreciate that some companies are having difficulty, perhaps, for example, where they're reliant on letters of access and such like. So they're having some struggles getting all the information together. If that is the case, still submit and make a note on the application form where the gaps are, why you've got gaps and what you're doing to try and address those gaps. Of course, we can't hold on indefinitely, and if necessary, we will get into a conversation with those applicants. So when they make these resubmissions, they'll use the new application form, which I'll come on to a bit later, and they must submit to us the full original data package that they submitted under the EU system, along with any later data submissions. So in other words, if the evaluating ourselves or the evaluating competent authority has asked for more information during the evaluation. Now for the product applications, can't say this strongly enough, it also includes the active substance data. We cannot evaluate a product if we don't have the active substance data. And a final comment there, again, just to note again, that if you've got gaps, highlight them and explain to us. So still on the transition arrangements, but for Article 95 listing. So the EU Article 95 list was downloaded at close of play on the 31st of December to become the GB list. So if you were on the GRU or the company, your source of your active substance was on the EU list up until the end of December, you will still be on the GB list. However, any changes to the EU list from the 1st of January onwards have not and will not be reflected in the GB list. To stay on the GB list, we have transition arrangements with a 2-year deadline, which takes us to the end of December 22. So if you want to stay on the GB Article 95 list, again, the dossier and all the supporting data needs to be resubmitted to us. Everything that you submitted to ECHA. And actually, if it was a letter of access that you submitted to ECHA, then that is what we need rather than the dossier. And the companies, everybody on the GB Article 95 list, within 2 years must be established in the UK. Now, if you look on our website, you'll find our list, and what we will do is we will periodically update the list to indicate which companies have fulfilled both of these transitional requirements. So moving on to Northern Ireland and the Northern Ireland Protocol and biocidal products for the Northern Ireland market. As I've said, biocidal products supplied in Northern Ireland will continue to follow EU BPR. However, HSE and GB will continue to act as the competent authority on behalf of HSE Northern Ireland. And companies have to be established in the EU or in Northern Ireland for an Article 95 listing and product authorisation in Northern Ireland. Now then, under the Northern Ireland Protocol, there is a new agreement for the unfettered access of products moving from Northern Ireland to the GB. And essentially what this means for biocides is that there's no extra authorisation required for the GB if the product has already been authorised in Northern Ireland. However, biocidal products are regarded as highly regulated goods, and because of that, there is instead a notification procedure. And there are 3 criteria for eligibility for the unfettered access of products from Northern Ireland to GB. And these are that the active substance in the product needs to be approved in GB, that the active substance in the product needs to be on the GB Article 95 list, and that the company needs to be established in the UK. So if those criteria are met, the company can notify HSE, providing all the information that they provided to gain their authorisation in Northern Ireland, as well as all the certification data. And the product can then be made available on the market in GB only 90 days after the notification was made, and if HSE does not raise any objections during that 90-day period. So if we raise objections, the company will have 90 days to address those objections. Perhaps we might ask for more information. And on the receipt of that new information, HSE then has a further 90 days to consider that extra information. Objections can only be on the grounds of concerns for efficacy or safety. And the last point on this slide then is there is no charge for accessing the GB market via unfettered access. Moving on to the establishment rules, I've mentioned this several times already. EU BPR requires the authorisation holder to be established in the EU. And via the Northern Ireland Protocol, this is actually extended to Northern Ireland. And in GB, the GB BPR requires the authorisation holder to be established in UK, including Northern Ireland. So looking at the first 2 lines in this table, for an authorisation in the EU or Northern Ireland, the authorisation holder must be established in the EU or Northern Ireland, or for completeness there, we've got the EEA and Switzerland as well. Now, because EU BPR hasn't been changed, hasn't been amended, no transitional arrangements, that requirement is already there, already in place. So as of the 1st of January, for a company to market a product in Northern Ireland, they had to be established in Northern Ireland or EU. Now, we know this has come as a bit of a surprise to some people, so I think the message is not to panic. There are no immediate plans to start revoking products as yet, but companies must get on with this and get their establishment requirement met as soon as they possibly can. And we will be contacting companies to hear how they're getting on with getting that in place. So the last line in the table then is to repeat for an authorisation in Great Britain, the authorisation holder must be established in UK. And of course, that's Great Britain or Northern Ireland. And I've put asterisks on that part of the table because GBBPR is new and therefore there are transitional arrangements for this, which are on the next slide, please. So for products that are already on the market, already authorised in GB, there is a 1-year transitional period. So the establishment rule needs to be met by the end of this year. However, if you are making a resubmission under those transition arrangements that I've just described, then the establishment rule needs to be met by the time we're ready to authorise that product. If a company is wanting to submit a new application to us, then the establishment rule needs to be met at the time of application. So for new applications coming in the door to us, that'll be one of the fundamental things that we will be checking. And just for completeness on this slide, I've repeated that the Northern Ireland rule already applies. So if necessary, companies will need to apply to HSE if they want to make the change because of Northern Ireland or because of GB. They apply in both situations to HSE to make the necessary change. And some people will be familiar, this would be via an admin change application. And I'll come back to this in a bit more detail, but you will use our new application forms because, of course, as I've just said, HSE no longer has access to R4BP. So you can, and some people have already been using our new change application form, but we've decided to create a specific establishment application form for making a change to establishment. So if you can find that form and you haven't already filled in the form, please use the establishment rule form. Don't worry if you've already used the admin change form, that's absolutely fine. A fee does apply for this work. If you want to put a product on both GB and Northern Ireland, that is absolutely fine, but you will receive 2 different sets of certificates from us because, of course, you will be issued authorisation under EU BPR and a separate authorisation under GB BPR. But the good news is for the product label, both companies, if you have 2 different companies, both companies and their addresses can appear on the one label. Okay, so moving on to what's new. We have got lots of new information on our website, but it's primarily all about GB at the moment. There have been issues about resolving some of the issues with Northern Ireland, so but there's more information to follow, hopefully very, very shortly. We've also on the website got some GB fact sheets. We've received some really good feedback about these, so I'd ask you to check these out. They cover 26 different scenarios, I think it is. Each fact sheet explains what the scenario is, so it might be about making a resubmission, it might be about applying for renewal, it might be for submitting a new application for a new active substance for approval. So 26 different scenarios. Scenario is explained what it is you need to do, what the deadlines are, and what the consequences are if you don't follow that through. So, for example, if there are products already on the market, it might be that there are phase out for those products. I've already said that we've got new application forms. So they're all there, and I've just provided the specific website to help you find the information. And again, because we've not got R4BP, of course, we now have to have a new method for submitting the application forms and all the supporting data to us. So just to expand on that, so if you're wanting to make a resubmission under the transitional arrangements, or if you're wanting to make an entirely new application to us, you will go onto our website, find the relevant application form, download it, complete it, and send it in to us via an email. On receipt of that email, we then send to you a secure upload link, and it's into that you put all your data, all your files, all your templates. Excuse me. Please don't send all of that information, which of course will include confidential information, to us in an email. Wait for that secure link. And the link stays open for 5 days. If you run out of time, don't worry, just drop us an email and explain. But a very important message at the end there, please only put into one link the information on one application to avoid confusion. Now, just to expand a little bit more about the format of the information that you will be needing to send in to us, as well as new application forms, we have new templates. So templates for CARs, PARs, and SPCs. So those of you who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. So we would like you to use these new templates. Now, of course, we appreciate that if you've already got all your information in an EU template, then you don't want to have to repeat having to fill all that out for GB. So in that case, send us the EU version. So for example, for all those resubmissions, we are anticipating that the information will come through on the EU templates. But for the new applications, we would like you to use the new templates, please. Euclid, we would prefer Euclid 6. If your information is all on an older version, submit it anyway. If we have a problem accessing it, we'll get in touch with you. And of course, it's quite possible that for some very old resubmissions, so for, in other words, for active substance review programme information, it might be the information wasn't in Euclid at all. If that's the case, that's fine, but you will very likely have an almost automatic response from us, where's your Euclid file? And of course, then you just need to explain that it never existed in Euclid in the first place. And the last thing on formatting, an important point, is that we must have the reference list of all of the studies in the GB Excel template. We're unable to be flexible on this point. That too is on the website. Now, if you're due and have everything ready to submit to us, to resubmit by the 31st of March, and you suddenly realise I don't have everything in the GB reference list template, don't panic. As we said earlier, just highlight in your submission that you haven't yet completed that, but that you're on with it, and you will have it with us to us within a couple of weeks or whatever. What's not new? Well, HSE is not new. Active substance dates of approval aren't new. They have all carried over from what the Commission had set. Active substance and product expiry dates and dates of submission for renewal, they're all stay the same. However, I've put an asterisk specifically at the active substances there because we are requesting a postponement from the Secretary of State for active substance expiry dates that are imminent. If product dates, expiry dates are also imminent, we will be postponing some of those, but those we can do in-house ourselves. We don't need permission from the Secretary of State. So when we find out more about those active substances that are affected, we will share that information with you. The data requirements in EU BPR, as it stood up to the end of the transition period, carry across to GB. Evaluation methodology carries across, technical guidance carries across, timelines via the lift and shift all carry across. Our fees haven't changed either, and by that I mean our hourly rate has not changed. However, with experience, we have updated our initial estimates of the various different types of applications on our website, so you might want to check that out also. So this is my penultimate slide, and it's a bit of a summary slide, if you like, just to confirm the routes that you go through to get to the market in the UK. So for GB, you will apply to HSE under GB BPR, or you can notify HSE via unfettered access if that product has already been authorised in Northern Ireland and all those other criteria that we mentioned about are met. For Northern Ireland, you again will apply to HSE, but of course it'll be under EU BPR. But you will, for Northern Ireland, use the same application forms and the same method of submission that you will for the GB market and that I've just talked about. The only exception for Northern Ireland is that if you wish to apply for a union authorisation that would be applicable in the whole of EU and Northern Ireland, then such an application that would be submitted to ECHA using R4BP. I think it's worth highlighting that in Northern Ireland, HSE Northern Ireland cannot take the lead for any evaluation work on behalf of any EU member state. Now, of course, it's GB HSE that's doing the work. So what it means is that HSE and GB cannot do the evaluation work for a union application in the EU. It will not do any evaluation work on any of the active substances for the EU. It also importantly means that if a product has been authorised for Northern Ireland, that product can then not be mutually recognised into the rest of the EU. So a company applying to HSE under EU BPR can apply for national authorisation in Northern Ireland, and they can apply for mutual recognition of a product already authorised in the EU. Now, what a company can do is apply simultaneously for authorisation in GB and Northern Ireland. It's the exact same form, it's the exact same submission method, so you wouldn't have to perform the process twice. It would only be the one evaluation. The only issue, I suppose, is further down the line. If GB and EU should start to diverge, then it might be that there's something extra or different that has to be done for either GB or Northern Ireland or vice versa. But certainly currently for the currently now and for the foreseeable future, one application will suffice for both GB and for Northern Ireland. Yes, so just to finish up by saying we've created some new help desks, so please try and direct your inquiries accordingly. The third one there at the end is the one you're used to. The PA.biocides one has gone, but if you've got questions in that system, don't worry, they'll not get lost. But my message for today is to let you know that we are exceedingly busy at the moment, quite honestly, with unprecedented numbers of inquiries. So I would ask you to check out the website, check out those fact sheets, and it's very possible that you will find the answer yourself more quickly than we might manage to get back to you. That's it. Thank you very much.